Stanley, Scuba, Sailing, and Adventures. Scuba diving, the Turks and Caicos, dive site, Shark Hotel. The Shark Hotel dive site is located off the Providenciales northwest point. This dive site is also sometimes called Mystery. The boat was moored laying into an easterly wind, with the stern facing west. The wall was just aft of the stern. As with many dive sites, when they have something in a name like shark, chances are you won't see a shark at that dive site. This dive site features two walls, this being the first, the mini wall, beginning at about 45 to 50 feet, that drops off fairly steeply to about 80 feet or 90 feet. Here, a wide ledge or plateau extends outward and runs for several hundred yards along the wall. The guide I found for this area, called Diving and Snorkeling Turks and Caicos, mentions a chimney at this dive site, which you can enter around 90 feet and then exit at about 135 or 140 feet. I didn't see the chimney, and I'm not sure I would have been particularly interested in swimming through the chimney anyway. Seems like a waste of air to go that deep just to swim through. But having not seen it, who knows? It could be well worth the effort. I didn't have the dive guide before the trip, so I wasn't aware and didn't know to ask about the chimney. This was the first day of the dive trip and the third dive of the day and third dive of the trip for me. The dive started at approximately 1:45 in the afternoon. The dive lasted approximately 54 minutes, and my dive computer recorded an average depth of 44 feet and a maximum depth of 71 feet. The water temperature was a comfortable 82 degrees Fahrenheit. What a great way to start the new year. Still January 1st, and I'm on my third dive. It wasn't completely by chance that I booked this trip and planned to be diving on January 1st. This year is a very special year for me. It marks the 40th anniversary of my first open water dive. I completed my very first open water dive as a certified diver in June of 1983. So much has changed since then. We didn't have individual dive computers. Dive computers were incredibly expensive. We learned with the dive tables back then. I was quite young when I started diving, barely a teenager, and I remember I found the dive tables incredibly challenging. Dive computers have really helped increase the bottom time. Back then, you really had to look at the tables before your dive and figure out your maximum depth and how long you could stay there. So even if you reached that depth just for a few minutes, you really kind of wanted to plan your dive around that. So it was quite limiting. At least that's the way I approached it. I believe all these blue fish schooling about, well, blue, some with yellow, are Creole wrasse. And I believe most of those were in an intermediate phase. Because in the terminal phase, they have a lot more yellow on the latter half of their body. The fish just coming into frame here that looks black, I believe, is a black durgeon. They range in size from 6 to 12 inches, reaching a maximum of about 16 inches. And they're usually found in depths of 20 to 100 feet of water. They are part of the triggerfish family. Here we see a white-spotted filefish. The white-spotted filefish range in size from 10 to 15 inches, reaching a maximum of about 18 inches, and are usually found in depths between 20 to 70 feet of water. They're usually found in pairs, and you see the other one over here just coming into frame. And I usually see them in pairs like this, where one has the spots and one doesn't. I'm not sure if that's a male or a female, but this is usually the way I see them. I got some great pictures of this particular white-spotted filefish, and you can see they have these white teeth. You see it was kind of eating something at the rocks there. See, it looks right at me. I got a couple really good pictures there where you can really see the teeth. I posted those on my Facebook page if you're interested in taking a look. It seems like I have pretty good luck most of the time with these particular kind of fish, at least in regard to getting pictures and getting fairly close without them being scared off. See, this one actually turns and looks at me a couple times. That's how I was able to get those headshots. Here we go, right here, with the mouth facing right at me with those little bitty teeth. I always try to keep an eye off in the distance. You never know what's going to show up. I believe this is a Cubera snapper. I couldn't get very close, but that's my best guess. They range in size from 1.5 to 3 feet, reaching a maximum of about 5 feet, and they're usually found in depths between 60 to 180 feet of water. Here we have a stoplight parrotfish in the initial phase. There's a trumpetfish swimming right next to it. In the initial phase, the stoplight parrotfish range from 5 to 12 inches. In the terminal phase, they can range from 1 to 1.5 feet, reaching a maximum of about 2 feet. They're usually found in depths of 15 to 80 feet of water. These walls are really quite spectacular. You can see the video is a little grainier here as the ISO level is self-adjusting based on the amount of light. The deeper you go, the less light you get. And unless I get closer to the wall, like I am here, then the video lights really don't reach the surface of the wall to bring out those colors. You can see here as I look up, it really was not an overcast day. There was plenty of sunshine, but when you get to a certain depth, you just don't have as much natural light. Here's another trumpetfish. This is an Atlantic trumpetfish. They range in size from 1.5 to 2.5 feet, reaching a maximum of about 3 feet, and they're usually found in depths of 15 to 80 feet of water. They do tend to vary in color just a little bit. This one seems to have a little more yellow than the typical brown. I've actually seen them where the face has some blue in it in the British Virgin Islands. I've never seen one 3 feet long, but I've definitely seen some pretty big ones, probably closer to the 2-foot range. At this point, I decided it was probably time to look for the rest of the dive group as I kind of wandered off a little too far. You can see there in the distance the bubbles, and that's the rest of the dive group. I typically don't intend to dive alone, but it seems like occasionally I'll get focused on taking pictures or video and kind of drift away from the crowd. I need to do a better job of focusing on the dive group. There was a lot to see here, a lot going on this dive site, on the walls and on the top of the reef. A large variety of fish to observe on this particular dive site. No sharks yet at the Shark Hotel, but I would be diving this site again and was hopeful. Everyone's got their own way of approaching certain things. When I'm diving from a fairly large dive boat like this one, this boat is probably 120, maybe even 130 feet long. There wasn't any current to speak of, but there was a little bit of wind. Enough of a wind to make the boat swing on the mooring line. There's a trapeze, which you'll see at the back of the boat, that's at the safety stop depth, about 15 feet, that divers will sometimes hang on. And if the boat's swinging enough in the wind, they'll really go for a ride. In a case like this, I like to either swim toward the bow of the boat and then just do my safety stop as I'm swimming slowly from the bow to the stern, obviously maintaining a depth of at least 15 feet or better to avoid the props, which aren't running and shouldn't start. But again, you never want to get too close to them. But if I approach it that way, then I usually don't get involved in the swing at all. It's very natural to just follow the keel of the boat from bow to stern. Alternately, with good buoyancy control, you can just hang out and the boat will swing away and then it will swing right back to you because it's swinging on that mooring line. So you can see here there's some folks hanging on the trapeze. I was interested in photographing this school of fish that was swimming under the boat, and lucky for me, they were just about 15 feet deep, so it was perfect for my safety stop. And when I encounter something like this, I really like to try and get as close as I can and see if I can blend into the school of fish. It's just very enjoyable. I really enjoy schooling with the fish and getting some photographs. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.